My name is Jake Boston-Kemper, agronomy lead with Liqui-Grow.
Hi, I'm Katie Hess, Seed and Seed Treatment Manager here at Liqui-Grow. Jake, it's the third week of April, and it just feels like it's time to plant corn. What do you think of that?
No.
Could you tell the folks at home maybe why we shouldn't be planting
Oh,
corn
yeah,
today?
yeah. I guess I should throw in some details. Yeah, well, you've been outside today and the last few days. It's definitely not great weather. It's very cold. Looking last night at some soil temperatures in the state of Iowa, we're still ranging in the high 30s to low 40s when you look at, across the state.
So what can that do to your corn crop?
Yeah, so if you caught the video a couple weeks ago, we talked about a study I did last year where we were trying to investigate inhibition of chilling injury. So what happens when you plant before a cold rain such as this? We did that last year. And when the temperatures are in the high 30s to low 40s, just like they are right now, you're going to have something called inhibition of chilling injury. Last year we did that, and with one hybrid we lost almost 20 bushels to the acre.
So Jake, we know that there's a risk associated with planting corn today in these cold, wet soils. At what point on the other side of the calendar is there a risk of losing bushels in the optimal yield?
Yeah, we really don't start losing yield at the Quad Cities latitude or even further south in the state of Iowa until about the middle of May. That's when we start to see appreciable yield losses after the middle of May.
What about our folks up north?
Yeah, when you head up in northern Iowa, you start to see some appreciable yield loss after the first week of May. So surely there are many better days to plant corn than today or even the next week.
Jake, I know folks aren't going to change hybrids today, but at some point, if you can't get in the ground like we had in 2019, we switched out a lot of hybrids. At what point would you be thinking about switching out these full season hybrids?
I wouldn't even let it cross my mind until we get to the first of June. At the 1st of June, that's when it might be start to think about getting rid of some of the very full stuff. But even then, I would still go back to the 1.9s, 1.10s, 1.12s. I wouldn't get dramatic and go to these 104s and 105s. We still see higher yields even with later planting with fuller season growth.
Yep. So Jake, the last thing I wanted to ask you about is planting into wet soils, and some folks would call it mudding it in. What happens when you mud your corn in?
When you mud your corn in, there's the risk of seedling diseases because seedling diseases like wet soils because that's how they move around and travel from plant to plant. There's also a risk of sidewall compaction, and if you get sidewall compaction, you can develop something called hatchet root syndrome. That's a big problem, particularly if we're in a wet period and then we get dry because those roots get trapped in that seed furrow and then they can't explore the soil for water nutrients like they should, and that can lead to big time yield losses. I've seen some very poor looking corn in my time due to hatchet root.
Well, thanks for all of your information today, Jake. It sounds like the folks should be spending their time in their shops and their sheds preparing their planters, so when it's go time, it's go time.
Yeah, absolutely, Katie. I want to mention one last thing. The other thing that I think we should consider right now is last year we had a lot of crown rot, okay? Crown rot, and we probably have we know we have a lot of hybrids out here that are sensitive to crown rot. And these are the conditions that crown rot loves, these cold, wet conditions. So that's another big thing. Another big reason why we want to wait for those better days between now and the middle of May. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and you don't actually see crown rot show up until later on into the summertime.
Correct,
You
but
don't know.
You get it early.
Right.
Yep.
Well, thanks. Hope everybody has a nice day.